Hi, this is Brandon LaMarche. This is my first video for Module 15. What I'm going to show you in this first video is the program PHET Interactive Simulations. It is a interactive labs and activities that you can do online. It's sponsored by the University of Colorado Boulder. So I'm going to show you kind of how to use the program, kind of show you the final product and how your students' experience will look like. And then I'll go through kind of the questions for this assignment. So this is a program as a teacher. I would highly recommend if you want to use this. If you're a science teacher or math teacher, there's a lot of great resources for this. You will need a login to access all of the tools that PHET Interactive Simulations provides. So once you sign up, it is free. You can go ahead and click on play with simulations. Now, they get to sort through all of their different interactive labs based off of topics. So for me, I teach a lot of physics at my middle school students, so I can go ahead and click on physics. And then I can go through the different topics and kind of pick out what really fits to what we're doing in class. A lot of these simulations are geared more towards high school and college level physics, but as a middle school teacher, there are a couple in here that are really good at teaching some of the basics. So I'm going to scroll down until I find something that looks easy enough that is going with what we're learning in class. So I teach force and motion and the very basics of it. So we're going to click on this one right here. And what's good about this, it is web-based. So it used to be JavaScript and you had to download it and all that, but now it's all HTML5 based. So it should work on any sort of web browser that you have. So before you click on the simulation as a teacher, you can go through the different tabs here that give you a little bit more information. So you have the About, which gives you sort of the topics that this simulation covers, a little bit about it, and some learning objectives that you might be helpful for this lab. So like in this force of motion simulation, you can identify when forces are balanced versus unbalanced, determine sums of forces, predict motion of an object based upon the forces that are being applied. So this is a great way to kind of give you kind of a head start of what you're looking at. After that, if you click on this tab, you have a lot of resources for teachers. This little video right here is called Video Primer. It's basically a how-to guide for this video. So I'll just click on here, let it play for just a little bit so you can kind of get an idea of what you're looking at. All right, so you kind of see get an idea of what you can expect when using these simulations. So you're not in the dark, you're not trying to figure out on the fly. Video is great for just kind of understanding what exactly are the different features you can use and how you can connect that to learning objectives as you use this. Unfortunately, this is only for teachers who have an account. Students don't have access to this video, but it may be something that you show to your students as you having them use this program. Now, if you scroll down past that video, you'll see a lot of different resources that teachers have made for this simulation. Some of them are even in different languages. So if you have students who speak German or Spanish or any sort of other language, they do have access to translations of these great resources that actual high school, middle school, and college teachers have made for this simulation. They also have translations for the simulations themselves. There's a bunch of different languages that you can translate this simulation for. So again, you have those second or English as second language learners. You'll definitely have an ability to provide them a resource for them to learn objectives in their native language if they're still struggling with learning English. And if you're looking for something that's related to that, they do give you suggestions that are related to this. So like collisions and balancing might be good relations to go even further in the topics of force and motion. So what I've done, I've already downloaded a example of what one of those resources look like. So this was a resource created for the friction portion of the force and motion basics. So you can kind of see it's playing off of observations, inferences, predictions. Wants kids to think critically and to kind of predict, and then go through the simulations and see if they can replicate their predictions, and then tell them whether or not their predictions were correct. So let's kind of play with the simulation real quick. So if you click on this, it should pop up in your web. Now, again, it says it has 4 different types of simulations for this particular simulation. So we'll click on friction because that's the one that our resource here was talking about. So the first part here says to play with the friction screen for a couple of minutes here. So students are just going to be able to kind of play around with it. All right, they just kind of click on things. The simulations are really based on dragging and dropping, moving things around. You can, in this one, you can push the object. You can pause it, reset if things go awry here. It also provides data, so the sum of both forces being applied as well as going against the guy pushing. Values, giving some units, mass, all right, providing kind of what they're looking at. So maybe you have them calculate frictional force or applied force or the sum of forces. Mass is definitely part of those equations, as well as speed. Speed can show you that as well. This one you can play with the amount of friction you have, a lot to none at all. You can even switch out or add different things up here. See, I can add as much force as I want. See how much force I can apply on it to get this thing going. See, it takes almost all of it, but if I have no friction at all, let's see what happens. Should be able to push that. Yeah. So it's just a great tool to kind of help students explore different topics that normally you won't have a lot of resources for. I know in my school we don't have a lot of money to allocate to labs. So this is a great resource for that. They give them that hands-on experience, that be able to think critically, and to apply certain knowledge that they don't normally get to do. So let's go through the kind of the questions here. Why I selected it? I selected this, like I just said, to provide kind of that deeper level thinking for students. Gives them more hands-on experience and gives them a visual to what they're learning. So it's not just, all right, here's a bunch of equations on force. Let's talk about how to do those. It's really kind of given a visual of what they're learning. The purpose, goals, and objectives for this. The purpose of this, again, is just as a tool to give them that hands-on experience that normally we wouldn't be able to do if we didn't have access to labs. The intended audience is definitely my students. My students are the ones who are playing with the simulations here. My 2 standards I picked for this was 6C, which is as the facilitator. We create learning opportunities that challenge students to use a design process and computational thinking, okay, to innovate and solve problems. And then the last one is 5C, okay, explore and apply instructional design principles to create innovative digital learning environments that engage and support learning. I hope this gives you a good visual of what PHET Colorado is, and I hope that you consider using it. It's a great source.